You ready?
Mm-hmm.
How much does a roof cost?
I don't know.
Nothing. It's on the house. That's actually kind of perfect because so we got hail the other day in McPherson. And my poor cherry tomatoes, like I had some really good cherry tomatoes, like getting real big. And that hailstorm they're all on the ground now. And Madeline's like, what is this? So now they're in a bowl in the living room or in the kitchen. She was playing with them in the living room. I'm like, no, because I don't want to lose cherry tomatoes in the flipping living room because she was using them as marbles and mixing them with the marbles.
As one does.
And so I
I'm
was
failing
like,
to see the problem here.
so yeah. Do you do any gardening? You a gardener?
I unfortunately don't have the time to be a good
Yeah.
gardener. I have aspiration aplenty, but no, nothing to show
I
for it.
planted cherry tomatoes, I think regular tomatoes, jalapenos, bell peppers, a couple different colors, lettuce, and I have a ton of they're not onions. They're scallions, yes. I have a ton of those. But those took a hit too with the hail.
Mm-hmm.
And then my lettuce has these little white bugs on them and it's looking real sad, so I got to figure out what that is. It's
Hannah has some app where she can take a picture of a plant or
and
an
it tells
issue.
you what's wrong with it.
And yeah, I think it's not even, at least it wasn't even AI. It was like an actual person who knows, looks at it and tells you what to do.
Interesting.
And stuff. Yeah.
I have to look that up.
Yeah.
Because my lettuce is looking a little sad.
Another thing you can do, this is a good tip for anybody in the state who may not be aware of this. Through Kansas state, there's a extension agent for each county, I believe, or area, and free of charge, you can call this person and they'll, you can ask them anything gardening related, and they'll give you advice. And sometimes they'll even come out and help you, not help you in your garden, but they might
But like tell you,
Yeah.
they'll look at it and tell you what's going on and how to fix it.
Yeah, this is affiliated with, Kansas State is our land grant university.
Yeah.
So it's a really neat
offices?
thing. Yeah.
Huh.
And they
look that up.
even do a lot of non-gardening stuff as well. So have to look that up.
Fancy.
Well, welcome to Ask a Kansan, our podcast about Kansas and what it's like to live here. Today is a little bit different from our recent episodes.
Yes.
Today, our producer, Skylar, who's just off camera here, is going to turn the tables on us and make us talk about ourselves a little bit more than we have.
Yeah, we kind of had this idea a couple weeks ago, and we're like, not a lot of, if we have listeners, they probably have zero idea who we are. So this is a get to know you episode.
Yeah. So without any further ado,
here we are.
Well, welcome back, and welcome Skylar into the light. The rest of the studio is very dark where she normally sits, and now she's here with us in the hot seats. So
yeah,
we're excited to have the tables turned on us a little bit today. Yeah. So take it away.
So I'm always fascinated by the paths people take to get where they're at in life. You guys are both here, but you come from very different backgrounds. And one of the things you've both talked about is the influence your parents had in sort of helping you forge that path. So I'm just curious to hear about, how they helped you guys out and how they inspired you.
Cool. I'll go first. So my life is very heavily influenced by my mom. So my mom was in radio advertising for most of my childhood. And then in high school, she got into insurance. And so growing up, I quite literally grew up in a radio station. My stepdad had a talk morning show in the same building, basically. And so I just followed my mom around everywhere. Even like when my parents got divorced and we had to, my mom started cleaning houses for some of her clients so we could pay the mortgage, and I would tag along there. And so just understanding where she's coming from, even as an adult, is super eye opening. But even like our mannerisms and things like that, spot on. I used to work with Devin, our executive producer. His mom knows my mom really well. And I used to work with her at Sunflower Bank, and she'd be like, okay, Joyce. Because how I would say things and my mannerisms are so much like my mom. Even my husband says it. It's terrifying.
I have that same thing with my dad. I have the same posture problems, and when my sisters call me, a lot of times I'll say hello, and they'll say Gus. I'm like, yeah. I'm sorry, you just sound so much like Dad. So I get that. Yeah, I guess for me, my parents are pretty different. My dad is an entrepreneur, and so I guess that's kind of where I got the entrepreneurial energy from. And he's pretty analytical and kind of likes to tear things apart. My mom is a lover of the arts, and my dad is too, but she's really the one that instilled in me like music and the visual arts. Like a lot of the things here are things I've kind of collected, and a lot of that came from her. So I think I'm definitely a blend of my parents in that way. A little bit of my dad's analyticalness and a little bit of his ADHD, a lot of his ADHD, and then my mom's kind of artistic expression.
Is there a lesson or a piece of advice that you learned from them that really sticks with you?
Oh gosh.
I can start this one.
Yeah, you start, 'cause I gotta think about this one.
This is from a theologian. I don't remember which one. I never can. But there's something my dad has told me several times, and it's like the idea of a long diligence in the same direction. Like sometimes the things that really matter in life only happen if you stay committed to them, even when they seem like they may never happen. Like you just have to keep soldering on, waking up every day, doing the things that you're trying to do to make the thing happen. And eventually things will happen. So yeah.
I like that.
So ironically, the one that sticks out the most that comes to my brain when you ask that question is actually from my stepdad. Because he would always tell me, and my mom would repeat it, you can't turn an elephant into a giraffe.
Please explain.
So I put my parents through the ringer when it comes to really horrible boyfriends. So my dad would always tell me, you can't turn an elephant into a giraffe, or vice versa, whatever it was. Speaking of, my mom is literally calling me right now. This is funny. And so every time I would get into a new relationship, which was quite often, my dad would be like, okay, just remember, you can't change this person into the person that you want them to be. Like,
that's such good advice.
Yeah. Yeah. So that always stuck with me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Kind of shifting gears just slightly. I want to hear in your guys' own words what your FILI story is. How did you end up here?
That's great.
Gus, you start.
Okay.
You're the
started the business.
Yeah. So after college, I went to work for my dad in kind of the manufacturing world. And I loved working in our family business and getting to know other people that were there. And but I kind of realized that manufacturing wasn't something that I was just, deeply impassioned about. And so after my dad sold his business, I decided to move to Lindsborg, and I had an art gallery and bakery there for a little while called The Courtyard. And that was also fun, but I was picking up where somebody else had kind of left off. And I started understanding some of the energy that my dad, and actually my grandpa too, had about entrepreneurship, like the desire to create something of your own and to mold it into what you want it to be, rather than, just try to work with what somebody else handed you.
Yeah.
And so, without launching into the whole FILI story, I would just say that what I really wanted to do was find something that offered fulfillment to me and anybody else who is involved in it. And while I can't speak for everybody else who works here, that is something that I've found here.
Great.
Okay, my story. So I don't know how far to go back. So as I mentioned, grew up in a radio station. So marketing was just kind of a thing that I grew up around and not really like, I didn't fully like grasp what it was for a very long time. So I worked at Sunflower Bank in human resources, for about 4 years. And then, the part that I loved about my job is planning the events and, kind of the marketing to employees. So I did like the employee newsletter. I did a lot of employee, mass communications, just kind of that thing. And I really liked that part of my job. So I was like, maybe I do need to get into marketing. So actually, I wanted to get into event planning. I wanted to move to Kansas City or Wichita and be an event planner, but I wanted to start small and like with a company first. No one would hire me. So I found the gig in McPherson at the McPherson Convention and Visitors Bureau and started doing that. It was fine until COVID. And then after COVID, basically the CVB didn't have enough funding to keep me over there. So they transferred me over to the city and I sat at a desk all day. I was still doing marketing, like social media marketing and the website and stuff like that. But I didn't want to sit at a desk all day. So I started looking for gigs and I think I saw a Facebook post or something that Gus, maybe it was on Indeed. I don't remember. But I saw a post from Gus or something and I was like, man, I don't want to, because I was telling my husband and I was like, man, I really don't want to sit at a desk all day again. And I don't know about this, blah, 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 blah. So I went back and forth and I was like, well, just apply and see what happens. So I messaged Gus and I was like, hey, you still looking for somebody? And Gus is like, yeah, but let me get a hold of you after River Festival. And that's when River Festival was in September of 21. So Riverfest went by, I reached out again and I said, hey, you still want to do this? And he's like, yeah, let's set up an interview. So set up an interview on a Friday, had a conversation with you and Devin. And then like an hour and a half later, I think I had a job offer. So I was like, oh, okay. And I was still like hesitant at first going into that meeting. And then after I had a conversation with Devin and Gus, I was like, I think I could probably work here. And so
Sydney brought a whole different level of energy to FILI. And I mean that in an entirely positive way. Like,
oh, okay, good.
It's like, whew, huh?
yeah,
What if it's not negative?
Yeah, I mean, before it was kind of the four of us and we were all creative, but not necessarily the best at communicating and kind of reserved.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, Sydney brought us a long ways in a hurry. It was great.
I find it so interesting how, like, from a young age, we're kind of brought up thinking, like, you need to know what you're going to do with your life or, like, the college track of things. And then so often, even if you go to college, you just fall into stuff. It's I don't know anyone who 5 years ago would have, like, known what job they're doing now.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a teacher. And then I found out I don't like kids in large quantities.
Well, like my best friend is she's a case manager. There's never at any point in time where I remember her expressing that social work was something she went into, but it was a position she found and she excels at it. And it's just great because, you know, when we were in college, we were both like, we're English majors. Don't know what that means beyond that. Okay.
I would tell any young person out there that's, you know, just coming out of high school or whatever, like, yeah, just, it's okay to not get it right the first time or the second or the third. Like, you know, it's okay.
Yeah.
You don't have to get it right.
I think sometimes those jobs find you too.
Yeah.
Like I never would have imagined being in marketing. I would have never imagined being an executive assistant or anything like that. And they're just positions that sort of came to me in a way through like connections I had made. And I think that's more than anything, the important part is knowing people and being able to interface with people.
That's really good. Really good.
Okay. So we know where you guys are at now, but I want to know, growing up, what was your dream job?
Yeah.
That's a great question.
I wanted to be an art teacher.
I
But I can't draw. So that's what's funny. So
That would
I
hinder
love arts and crafts and being creative that way. Like I can make you anything out of popsicle sticks and hot glue. Hot glue and I BFFs.
Yeah.
But I cannot draw. But for some reason I was like, that says art teacher all over it.
You have an art teacher personality.
I do.
Yeah, like just the exuberance and like energy you bring to stuff. Like I could see it. I could see it for sure.
I'm curious, in your guys' like grade schools, were your art teachers like the most popular teacher?
No.
Okay.
We had an amazing art teacher at Coronado. Miss I think her name was Mrs. Baker, I think. But she really challenged us and like we did watercolor, we did clay, we did like she taught us the correct way how to use scissors. Like I remember her
wrong way.
Well, so when you're trying to cut something, when when you're cut something, you have those little notches.
Yeah.
Don't close the scissors all the way.
Oh,
Okay.
Because that's
You're
what
trying
creates
to
those
glide
little
them.
notches. You're trying to glide them. Don't close
Like
them all the
wrapping
way.
paper.
of all the topics that I didn't expect to talk about today,
Yeah,
How to use
How to
scissors
cut
properly.
Scissors.
we had Mrs. Mahoney, and she was by far the most popular. I mean, sorry, other teachers of Metal Arc Elementary, but she was she was good.
Yeah, we had so many. Like, I think we had 3 or 4 art teachers that we
Wow.
went through.
Oh, wow.
My school, because we were a combined grade school, junior high, high school.
Gotcha.
And so, like, any arts teacher for the most part was just shared between all those levels. And I'm pretty sure my class in particular made it a goal to chase off any teacher associated with the arts, whether literal art, music,
man.
English. We never had consistent teachers in those. So, no, they were not popular and they
Aw.
were often gone, unfortunately.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah.
My ADHD's kicking. What was the question again?
Growing up, what was your dream job?
Oh yeah, I wanted to be an astronaut, real bad. In fact, I pursued that into college. My first 3 semesters, I was a physics major at Kansas Wesleyan, and an F in Calc 2 pretty much meant that business was for me.
Yes.
So I switched over.
Yeah.
But yeah, wanted to go to the stars.
All right. Well, let's take a quick break. And then when we come back, we'll have some Kansas related questions.
This episode is sponsored by Renaissance Cafe. Serving Northern Italian cuisine prepared with a fresh, contemporary influence, the Renaissance Cafe is one of Kansas's favorite restaurants. Whether you're planning a romantic dinner date, a family celebration, or an intimate meal with friends, the Renaissance provides a unique dining experience with an old-world atmosphere. Open Thursday through Saturday evenings, the Renaissance Cafe is located just south of Salina in Assyria, Kansas. Visit renaissancecafeassyria.com to book your reservation today.
All right. Welcome back. As I was coming up with questions for this interview, I was thinking back to things that we've talked about with other guests. And we've had quite a few transplants come in. And, they always talk about how Kansas is so different from where they came from. So I wanted to know what's a moment in time that you guys have had where you had your Dorothy moment and you went, I am not in Kansas anymore.
Oh, wow.
Oh. I don't think I've ever really had that moment. Mainly, I've traveled throughout the Midwest.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've been to like Oregon and Washington, but I don't think I've ever really had that moment.
I guess
I don't think.
I would say I've been fortunate to travel a lot in my life. And when I was in high school, I think that's when I experienced the heaviest culture shock going other places. I went to third world country, went to the small African country of Djibouti, where my sister was teaching English in high school. And that was my first time in a third world country and just seeing, completely different living standards. And, it was just a different world. And I'd say that I don't experience culture shock as much anymore. In fact, I would almost say that kind of the opposite is true. When I travel now, I realize just how similar people are. Like, we may look different, our lifestyles may be very different, but a lot of the issues people face are strikingly similar to people in Kansas.
That is really true. Yeah. I think mine, when I get like that culture shock moment, kind of comes from the country rural girl going to the city sort of thing. Because I have family on the East Coast. And so that was kind of what inspired this question. Because I'll go to like New Jersey or New York and stuff. And just the lack of that like Midwest constant politeness is always very jarring to me.
Yes.
Where it's like you smile at people in public and they're like,
Why?
what are you doing? Or they don't necessarily say like, excuse me, if they're walking past you. And it's like, to me, I'm like, that's rude. But to them, that's just, they're like, why would I
is this
stop?
woman looking
Yeah.
at me?
Like why would I stop and smile at this stranger? So that always throws me. So I didn't know if you guys had a moment like that where you know, you're like, oh, okay, like I'm a little different from what's going on here.
I'm like fiercely proud of my Midwesterness. I'm also the guy who's like kind of trying to make eye contact with other
And smile
strangers
at people.
and like do the little nod as you're walking by. And they always think I'm weird. That's
Yeah,
okay.
they don't quite get it. And it's that little slight cultural shift that really makes a difference.
It's the driving down the country road and the little.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
We had this conversation the other day at a friend's house. I go, okay, are you guys a full wave? Are you guys a one finger wave, a two finger
I'm like
wave? Are you guys a four where your thumb is still?
Do you know what I actually am?
What?
I'm a. Oh no! Did that person wave at me?
Yeah. I actually got caught so off guard. It was when I was taking care of your bunnies. And so driving into your neighborhood and people are waving at me like from their yards and from their vehicles. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, hi, I don't know. Like, I only barely belong here. And so it's so funny to me that even like, I'm still sometimes shocked by the level of politeness and friendliness that you encounter here. And so, yeah, it's interesting the effort that we put into trying to connect with other people, even in those really small ways.
I think it's something that we should be proud of and not try to hide.
Yeah.
I did think of one.
Go.
Bars in South Florida are open till 5 a.m. I think that is when I knew that I wasn't in Kansas anymore because everything shuts down here about 2 a.m. unless you go to someone's garage.
The garage is always open.
That's the only thing I can think of is going out.
A
These are things I
Florida
would not know.
bar at 5 a.m. sounds terrifying.
It was a lot of fun.
I guess at 5 a.m.
In my early
by that
20s,
point,
it was a lot of fun.
yeah, by that point, you're.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever thought of leaving Kansas permanently? And if so, what changed your mind?
I guess I don't think it ever crossed my mind to just I didn't want to live here. But I so I went to boarding school for 2 years in Missouri. So I lived in Missouri for a good chunk of my junior and senior year of high school. So I always actually thought I'd probably end up there because that's where all my friends were. But my family is all here. Like my family all lives in Salina. Like all my parents, all my siblings, everyone is in Salina. So I just I'm the only one that lives out of town.
And it's what, 40 minutes away?
Yeah, 40 minutes, 45. Yeah.
Wow.
So I don't think I've ever had that.
I 2 summers I spent working at a Bible camp in Nebraska. It was 2010, 2011. And then, so 2010, I had just graduated high school, worked all summer at this Bible camp. It's basically in the middle of a cornfield. And then I was going to go to school where my family has mostly gone to school in Chicago at a place called North Park University. And so I got there and like, I was there for a little under a week and I was just like, I am not cut out for this. And so I moved back to Salina and thank God Kansas Wesleyan took me much later than I deserved to be taken. So I at that point in my life, I honestly couldn't imagine living outside of Kansas. And now I would say that like the kind of the political climate scares me a lot. And so I have to admit that I do sometimes think about leaving Kansas. However, simultaneously, I've never been more in love with my state, and I've never, like, I really don't ever want to leave here. Like, I truly love living in Kansas, and just can't imagine uprooting myself and leaving, the people, the organizations, the honestly, the landscape that I really love.
Yeah. I always kind of love hearing from people because I talk to them and their kids, and I was the same way, where, you know, when they were teenagers, they're like, I'm getting out of here. And then as you're an adult, you develop sort of this love and this like acceptance of this being your home. And I think that's really neat because I was going to move to Canada. That was my big plan, was that I was going to go to college in Vancouver, and that was where I was going to live, which, mind you, it's got like one of the most expensive rates of living in the world. So I don't know how I was going to do that. But when I went to college, I just kind of realized, because I went to KU for a couple of years and then came back here, went to Wesleyan again. And I was like, oh, like, no, like this is my home and I'm comfortable with that. It's no longer something where it's like, I'm resigned to being here. It's like, this is where I want to be. And so I like hearing when other people have also kind of gone through that exploration and been like, no, like this is where I belong, and that's okay. Yeah.
I often say that like the Kansas landscape is an acquired taste, or it like maybe it's the child that only its mother could love, kind of. But yeah, I find that the more I live here, the more I appreciate the little things, both in relationships, but also in just the landscape, and you know, even just watching the sun set on the horizon. We get such beautiful sunsets here. Those are honestly one of the reasons I want to live here.
My mom has like an incredible view of the sunset from her house, and she has a whole Google album of photos that she's taken, because there's like this little windmill type thing that's out that direction. And so she captures, I'll get random notifications in my email that's like, she's added more photos to sunsets. And I don't even know how many are in there, but it's a lot. So yeah, the sunsets are just beautiful. And I think people who don't think Kansas is beautiful probably aren't looking hard enough. Yeah. They're just assuming that's all like yellow fields. But especially this year, a lot of the fields have had, I think they're technically a weed, but like the purple flowers in them, it's been so, like, it's beautiful.
I think that one of the reasons why Kansas has a bad rap is that I-70 is cut through the most boring part of the state.
Yeah.
So that they didn't have to go up and down on hills and stuff. But yeah, for people who haven't experienced a Kansas sunset, like, you have to honestly come in like late June when harvest is going on and there's a lot of dust kicked up in the atmosphere, because that makes for some of the best sunsets.
And then my last Kansas question is, what does it mean to you guys to be a Kansan?
Deep.
Don't worry, the fun questions are next.
I just live here.
I just live here.
What does it mean to be a Kansan? I mean, for me, it's about the support system, I guess. So when I think back to like my mom's, so my grandmother, my mom's mom, grew up in the Pratt Medicine Lodge area. And my dad, or my grandpa, my mom's dad, grew up in that same area. My dad's parents, Wichita area. And so it just kind of goes back to like a deep-rooted support system between grandparents, great-grandparents, aunts, uncles. Like, everyone kind of sticks around, and it's more of a, I don't know how to describe it other than it's the support system that a lot of families have around. Yeah. Does that make sense? Okay.
Okay, I'm going to take you on a little journey.
Here we go.
Going back to my like aspirations to be an astronaut. I remember being inspired by this kind of sounds so weird, like the sign on the highway that says "Welcome to Salina, Kansas, home of Steve Hawley," and there's actually several astronauts from Kansas, and I always kind of wondered like what is it about, you know, this place that has bred these people that want to go to space. I remember, so I'll come back to that in a second. I remember in elementary school, there was a Salina artist named Richard Bergman, I think. I'm so sorry if I get that name wrong. And he designed that statue right there at Astra. And so they carted that thing around on the back of a trailer to each elementary school in Salina. And all of us went out and we signed the bottom of it. So my signature's
wow.
up there on top of the state capitol underneath
That's
the,
really
the
cool.
thing. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
And I remember thinking, like, it's pretty cool that this symbol of our state is of a person looking up. Okay, fast forward again. I'm at Kansas Wesleyan, and there's this thing on campus every day when you're walking to the student activity center there is a statue of a coyote. And that coyote is always looking up, and its nose is, it's bronze. And so its nose is rubbed gold by all the people touching it. And I always touched its nose. Like if I was going to have a test that day, or I felt like I needed something. And the way I kind of rationalized all of that was like, this thing is always looking up. And by touching it, I'm acknowledging that like today's trials, today's tribulations are not important. We're keeping our eyes on the horizon and up. And like, that's what it means to me to be a Kansan is I'm not looking at my feet. I'm not looking at where I am today. I'm looking at where we're going. I'm looking at the horizon. I'm looking at the sunset. I'm looking at the stars. And those are the things that are going to guide me. And that's what I care about.
Yeah. And I think that's something that we kind of discussed even when developing this podcast is like almost the resilience of the Kansas spirit. And the ways that we face adversity and the variety of people that live here. So that's great. And we will take another quick break, and then we'll come back with the fun questions.
Want to spread your organization's message across Kansas? Consider becoming a sponsor. Ask a Kansan has a unique focus on Kansas and its people. By sponsoring our podcast, your organization can reach people from Canaredo to Kansas City, Wichita to Washington, and all the great places in between. We have a variety of sponsorship packages available to fit your budget and needs. For more information, visit askakansan.com/sponsorships or call us at 785-571-9507.
All right, welcome back. Our first question in the fun category is...
It's like Jeopardy.
Yeah, that was how I had to think of this in categories. Who's your dream guest for the podcast? And Sydney, I think I already know
Everyone
yours.
should know mine, but go ahead, Gus. Or do you need time to think?
I think I need time to think.
Okay, so I have a couple, but my biggest dream is to get it seems so stupid, but my biggest person that I want to get on is Spencer with SB Mowing. He's from Wichita. He has like 13 million followers or something along those lines. My second one is Rob Riggle, just because he has been to Salina before. But yeah, Spencer with SB Mowing, if you happen to see this, I'm going to tag you. I would love to have you on the podcast so I could pick your brain. I'm a huge fan.
I'd say Laura Kelly would be really cool. Like to talk to her.
We have very different
I know.
Well, okay, that was my more serious one. My more fun answer is Jason Sudeikis.
Oh yeah.
I think Ted Lasso is that's one of the fictional characters I would associate as a kind of a goal. Like I'd like to be like him. And so, yeah, I'd just love to talk with him about that character and about his feelings about the state. Cause we don't hear a lot about that other than you can kind of smell it as you watch Ted Lasso. He's constantly tying back to Kansas. So I feel like he is aligned with what we're trying to do with the podcast as well.
Okay. Would you rather be able to fly or be able to become invisible?
Ooh, fly or become invisible?
I think invisibility would be way too tempting to like spy on people and stuff.
Yes.
And I know myself well enough to know I don't want that power, so fly. I'd rather fly.
See, I'd go with invisibility because I am the nosiest person on the face of the planet.
That's kind of how I feel too. I'm also scared of heights, so that'll do it on the flying part. But yeah, invisibility would be too tempting.
Because then I can invisibly get on the airplane or whatever mode of transportation that I need to.
Yeah.
I just hope there's an empty seat so you don't have to stand the whole flight.
Nah, I'll just lock myself in the bathroom.
Don't they eventually, like, if someone's in the bathroom for a long time, probably go like, hey, are you good?
I'm invisible. So
yeah, but they're going to unlock it and open. Are you
You're
just
probably
going
to get peed on, Sydney.
Yeah. Like, are you just going to war with them with the little lock?
Yeah. I'm gonna scare the crap out of them. Is what I'm gonna do.
That's
I'm
always
just
a good
gonna
thing
just
to
shove
do on
them
an
and they'll be like,
airline.
The haunted flight of
The
United
haunted flight.
404.
yeah,
You could become a conspiracy theory.
I could.
Yeah. That's something that I want us to look up like Kansas conspiracy theories and do like a little segment on that.
That would be funny.
But I don't want to attract like a weird vibe either.
Yeah, we could be the Joe Rogan of Kansas.
Yeah, that's what we're aiming for.
Yeah.
Yay. Okay. If you could time travel, are you visiting the past or the future?
Oh, mine's gonna be the past.
Okay, so what era? What?
Well, it kind of depends. So lately I've been obsessed with the early like 1900s. Granted, women couldn't have bank accounts or whatever. But I want to be like high society women where all they're doing is charity and planning events, because that's like the thing that I love the most. Oh, and having babies. But and I'm obsessed with the how society still worked. Like if you were like rich in those times, you had a butler, you had I can't remember all the proper names for it, but you basically had a maid that dressed you. You had and even for dinner at your house, you're changing into your dinner formal, and like all these. I just love the concept of that. I think I would get really exhausted after probably a week and be like, okay, I'm ready to go back. But I would just want to experience that.
Couldn't you basically not dress yourself back then? Like if you're wearing the
Yeah, you couldn't.
Like high level clothing, yeah.
Yep.
I'd probably go to the future. We can kind of visit the past through travel and through books and things. So I'd be curious to see, how our generation and this time is remembered, and where we got it right, where we got it wrong. I often, so I'm a Trekkie, Sydney's a Star Wars fan. And one of the things that's very different about these two fan bases, about these two stories, I should say, is that Star Trek offers a relatively optimistic vision of the future. Like, it's like, basically they live in a utopia where Earth's problems are mostly solved. And so they're seeking out problems in the universe to solve. Whereas Star Wars is a little bit more of a dystopian view of the future.
Everything's a problem in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're fighting a lot of wars.
Yeah.
But I think there's
Hence the
something
reason Star
about each of those.
Wars.
And so I guess I would want to visit the future to see, which are we? Are we more of a utopian society in the future or more of dystopian?
Do you think you guys would be able to resist like messing with stuff though? In either capacity. Although you might be okay. There's no personal connection for you going that far back in time.
I'm such a nerd.
You're thinking of like the timelines and the space-time continuum.
the butterfly
here's
effect.
Here's the thing. If you travel forward in time, you actually can't disrupt the timeline because
it hasn't happened yet.
It hasn't happened yet. So you can't screw up the past. Now, if you go back in time, back to your present, and you know things about the future, then all sorts of things can be weird. But so if you go forward in time, it's fine as long as you stay.
Yeah, but I think the implication is that you would come back. See, because that would be my thing is I couldn't go to the future, know everything about the future, then come back and just kind of sit there and be like, okay.
If Neil deGrasse Tyson or another physicist were here in the room, they would tell you that it is possible to travel into the future. If you go fast enough in space, you can actually experience time at a different rate than someone that's stationary. And there's all sorts of weird things about that that are possible. But yeah, you have to go really, really fast, like close to the speed of light. So, yeah, sorry, I have brought the nerd level way up.
Gus always comes in with the actual facts, and we're just like, I would change stuff, or I want to wear the cool clothes.
I'm so sorry. I can't help it.
Okay, here's another would you rather. Would you rather never use social media again or never watch TV or movies again?
Social media. 100%.
I knew you would struggle a little more with this one.
I probably could get away with social media. I could probably give it away.
Yeah, because I don't think like you could easily continue to be part of like culture and stuff without being
that's
on social
true.
media. Like I got off of most social media a year ago and I'm doing just fine. But like not being able to engage in like other people's creative works, that would be weird.
Yeah.
And not knowing, I mean, I already feel clueless when people talk about TV and movies now, and that's with the capacity to watch them. So
Yeah.
We live in a kind of an era where there's so much TV and movies that the shared experience element really isn't there anymore. Like occasionally I'll be talking to somebody and they've seen the same thing, but more often than not, they haven't.
yeah.
So it's a little different. I think it'd be interesting to ask that same question of somebody with a little bit more life experience than Salina and I have, and see, does it matter if there's a smaller amount of TV and movies? Would that be more advantageous? I don't know.
I can't remember when I saw this topic come up. I don't know if I read something about it or if I talked about it with someone, but it was about how TV was once sort of like a connecting phenomenon between people. And so like you could go into work the day after an episode, I don't know, if like Friends was on.
Oh yeah.
And everyone had seen it. You could all connect and talk about it. And now most people aren't even watching shows as they air. I can't remember the last time I watched a show as it was live on TV because I don't even have cable. And so I think it's so fascinating that at one point that was something that brought us together. And now there's just so much to consume that we have things that align, but it doesn't quite like
you can find
connect.
things that fit into your personal interests. I think it's a problem. I'm a big fan of board games, and one of the things I talk about with board games is how they're social grease or social lubricant. They enable connection between people much easier. Like it's so awkward to just meet a stranger and just start talking. But if you're playing a game, it takes some of that stress away. In the same way, I think TV and movies offered that connection
to other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think when we don't have some of those shared experiences, it gives us less to connect about.
See, I can't relate as much to the board game thing because they either make me nervous or people hate playing them with me. My mom, as like my brother and I walked her down the aisle when she got married last year. Like, and so she did the thing where I didn't know you did this, but you give gifts to people in your wedding party.
Yeah.
And she got me Queen Monopoly.
Oh, wow.
And so it's all Queen themed. And we finally played it at Christmas last year. So it was me, my mom, and my brother. And I, like, every time they'd land on something, I'd have, like, a fun fact. And I'd be like, did you know that Freddie Mercury, like, wrote a crazy little thing called Love in his bathtub? And after a while, they were like, I think they just wanted the game to end because they couldn't land on a song or a concert venue
Without
or
a fun
anything
fact.
without me being
I
like,
didn't know
hey,
this
did you know?
about you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I can be really annoying. I just hide it at work very well. but that
I
was
make no attempt.
We didn't mean that part. We meant we didn't know you were such Queen fan part.
Oh yeah. I watched Bohemian Rhapsody in like 2023. I had not like it'd been out for years at that point.
Yeah.
I just never seen it. And I was like, oh my God, like I loved this. And so I've just been listening to them. They've been my top artist on Spotify for 2 years in a row now. I was in like 0.05% of their listeners or
Nice.
something ridiculous. Like, yeah, I know a lot of Queen and Freddie Mercury trivia, enough to bother people. So
Man, I just love Brian May's hair. I mean, it's just
know.
so epic.
I mean, I'm just more interested that he has kept it up this
I
long.
know. He has better hair than I do. And he is
He's in his
80-something?
70s and 80s.
Or no, yeah, he's a little bit younger, I think, than my grandpa is. And I just saw them with Adam Lambert in late 2023. And I mean, like, they could still play. It was one of the best
Oh, yeah.
concerts I've been to.
Oh yeah.
And that just fascinates me to no end that they can do that.
That hair looks so good on him.
There's not a lot of people that could pull that off. And it's been that exact style basically his whole
Yep,
adult
the-
life.
The perm fro kind of thing. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Do you think?
Uh-oh, we've lost
Excuse me.
Sydney.
Sorry. That was.
See, this is my family's reaction to me talking too much about
Do you
Queen.
think it's actually perm? Do you think that's his naturally curly
I
hair?
think it's his natural hair.
Wow.
I mean, were men getting perms in the
Oh,
70s?
yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Oh yeah.
But do you think someone would continue to do that well into like now?
Yes.
That's fair. I'm team-
Especially if
I don't
it's a
know anything about
signature.
I'm team. I think it's his actual hair.
Okay.
Fascinating hair.
Yeah.
Fascinating hair.
Okay. What's your weirdest talent? As Sydney yawns.
Sorry. My weirdest talent is I can sleep for days or I cannot sleep at all. No. What is my weirdest talent?
It could be like the most minuscule thing too.
I'm trying to think of what my normal like party tricks used to be.
Well, there's
back
some
in the
things
day.
I feel like we do as people that seem so normal to us, and then we realize other people don't do
Yeah.
that.
I can't fall asleep just about anywhere.
That's a talent.
I feel like I also have that talent. I'll give another one that's for some reason in middle school I was obsessed with learning to juggle. I can't do much. I can only juggle 3 things. But so that's one. And then the other one is I can balance things on my chin.
We can insert a video here.
Yeah, I was gonna say
I'd
I'd be happy to show you. I need to go outside.
Just do like the
probably.
FILI circus, and we all
The
have to
FILI
bring
circus.
in a weird random talent.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think if I have a.
I have a signature guitar move, like air guitar kind of thing. I like run at a chair and kind of like topple over it. I remember I was playing.
Did you practice that in your bedroom as a kid?
Yeah, probably.
Air guitar?
No, the chair topple. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Oh, okay. No, I know what you're talking about now. I pictured you tripping over a chair, and I was like, Gus, that is not a talent. But no, I know what you mean. Like the foot on the yeah.
Foot here, and then it kind of topples over.
Yeah.
The single probably coolest moment that the coolest I've ever looked. I was playing bass. I was like a high schooler, and I was playing bass at this middle school church event thing, and we were doing Sadie Hawkins' Dance by Reliant K.
Yeah.
Just as a fun
Sadie
song
Hawkins
between
Dance.
things.
In
And so
my
like towards the end of that, there was a instrumental. And so, yeah, I did the run at a chair thing. And when I say those middle schoolers lost their minds, I was like, oh, this is what being a rock star feels like. Yeah, it was cool.
I think if 12-year-olds find you impressive, you're probably pretty cool in that moment because they can be mean.
They are,
yeah,
they are real mean.
Being 12 to like 14 is just a rough time.
Yeah.
What's something you love that most people hate?
Monopoly. I
No, that's true. I hate
love Monopoly.
I love Monopoly as well.
I'm outnumbered.
All formats of it. I have like 3 of the special ones actually.
Wow.
I don't know why
I have
there's so many.
Catopoly.
Ooh, what's like the gimmick with that? Is
It's all
that
cats.
just well, okay?
You have litter boxes instead of houses.
Ew.
So
what are
green
you putting?
litter boxes and what red?
I think I think they're blue and
A scratching
Something.
post. Oh, okay.
no scratching posts.
So are you buying property to put litter boxes on?
Yeah. And like the
Okay.
property is the different types of cats.
Okay.
I was like imagining a world run by cats there for a second. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just litter boxes everywhere. That's step 1.
I'd say my thing that I like that most people seem to not like is I love daylight savings time, both ways. I, as a person with ADHD, I love change, and I get along real well. And so, yeah, I love it when, like leading up to the change, like in the fall, you're used to the sun being out when it's supper time, and then all of a sudden it's dark during supper time. For some reason, just love that.
Interesting. I don't have strong opinions about daylight savings time. I just kind of don't
As
care.
a parent, I don't like it because
That makes sense.
Like in the summer when it's not dark until like 9 and my kid needs to go to bed at like 8:30 and they're like, but it's not dark out. I'm like, but go to bed.
I always think about like animals too and how they're used to their set times and schedules, and then suddenly out of nowhere, just everything's an hour off, and they're like, hello? Like, why am I not getting fed right now?
So the first thing that I thought of when you said animals was like the squirrels don't know
That's
what
what
time
I was
it is.
also thinking.
Yeah.
But you're totally
Pets,
right.
pets.
Pets know the schedule.
Yeah.
They don't have a
Yeah,
clock,
pets
but they
know
know.
the schedule.
Yes.
But for a minute, I was like, squirrels don't know what time it is. They're
They
not. They're
don't
not
care. I
affected
was
by
also
this
doing
at
that.
all.
Maybe a domesticated squirrel would. I don't know. But yeah, pets. I should have been more specific there.
Oh, shoot. That's funny.
Anything's a pet if you try hard enough.
That's true. Anything is a pet if you try hard enough.
If there's one lesson to take away from today's episode, it's that.
Anything can be a pet if you try. If you could live in one store, which would it be?
Oh, I have an answer to this, but I have to think about it.
I feel like I know what Gus's is.
There are so many really obvious
probably do.
ones.
Is yours IKEA?
Not a bad. That would be a good one. In all honesty, it's probably B&H, just because
Oh, yeah.
I don't
But
even.
where are you
wanna-
getting food? Although I guess it doesn't say you can't leave.
Yeah.
So
Well,
Plus, there's Uber Eats.
B&H is in. Okay, if you don't know what B&H is, it's a photography and electronics store. But yeah, there's a lot of good restaurants nearby B&H. So.
Yeah. Mine would probably be. I could live in a store. Oh, Hobby Lobby. I'd live in Hobby Lobby.
that'd be nice. And it like smells nice in there.
Smells
and
good.
yeah.
There's inspirational quotes everywhere.
Yeah. Seasons change 6 months in advance.
Or it's just Christmas all year.
Or it's just Christmas, all
Yeah.
year round. It's great.
Those are good ones. Yeah, because it's interesting. I think my brain always goes with a question like this to like zombie apocalypse survival. Because that's what,
Oh,
like, you know,
yeah.
people,
Oh, yeah.
they go to the Costco or the Sam's Club or whatever. But yeah, if you can leave there and go eat, do whatever you want, like you could absolutely just live in a store that's it's just hobby stuff.
They have candy and stuff up front. I mean,
Yeah.
they have mints
So
and gum.
one of
like
my
pretzels.
favorite podcasts is Criminal with Phoebe Judge. I think that's right. And there was an episode not too long ago about a guy who robbed McDonald's all over the place, and he would cut in through their roof. But he, towards the end of his criminal career, he lived in a Toys R Us. Or no, he lived in like an abandoned store next to a Toys R Us. And he'd like go in there to steal stuff, and then he'd go sell it. And yeah, I'm sorry. This is my ADHD coming out. Just
No, but
totally
that's-
random.
That's kind of a wise business plan. Like, honestly.
So if stuff starts disappearing from your store, you might have a Skylar infection.
Yeah. No, it's too much effort to resell stuff online. No, I'm good.
Yeah, Marketplace is a rough
It's
place.
Still
it's
be
a place.
It's a place.
For sure. Okay. One last question. And these are all like so incredibly random, so I do apologize for
no
that.
worries.
Wow, I love it.
Have you ever had a paranormal experience?
Oh, paranormal
yeah,
experience.
Or do you even believe in them?
I believe in them.
Yeah.
There's enough ghost stories in the world. I believe it.
I think it
I really
wouldn't be
wanna-
the weirdest possible thing in the world.
What say that?
Like,
again?
I think it wouldn't be the weirdest
yeah.
possible thing in the world for ghosts to exist.
I really want to go. I really want to go to Atchison in the fall because supposedly Atchison is the most haunted place in Kansas.
Really?
Yep.
Not the.
Is there
That's
a
not the
sanatorium
place.
there, or what makes it haunted?
There's a story behind it, but I don't remember.
Okay.
But
Future episode.
they do a lot of like haunted trails and things like that. If you ever go to Atchison, you just get that feel because it's all hills and mountains and it's foliage. It's a cool place. It's where my stepdad's from, so we've been there a couple times. It's where Amelia Earhart grew up.
Oh.
Early in my wife and I's relationship, she was tearing down and setting up for the Salina Symphony at the Stiefel Theater in downtown Salina. And, you know, that's an old kind of movie palace that had a stage and beautiful theater. So a lot of times tearing down like that takes place like extremely late at night. So we were there at like 11:30 one night with our friend JC. And we were all in different places in the theater. And all of a sudden the lights turned off and none of us were near the switch. And it was 11:30 and I know we were the only ones there. And we got out of there pretty quick.
Yeah.
We got out of there pretty quick. It was intense. I honestly don't put a lot of credence, I guess, into paranormal stuff. I'm not discounting anybody's experiences. I just, I don't personally put a lot of thought into it, I guess.
Yeah.
But there have been a few of those moments.
Where it's a little unexplainable.
Yeah.
I think that's the fun thing about life, though. It's like stuff's happening and we can't piece together why. And yeah, because I don't know that I believe in like hauntings. I think I believe in the concept. Like, I don't know, my attachment to like paranormal is almost more spiritual. Because I one time, this was a few years ago, I was still in college, I'd had kind of like a rough day and I'd gone to bed and I wasn't asleep yet. And I was laying there and I heard like footsteps in my room. And I was down in the basement. So like you couldn't come down there without opening the door and like coming down the stairs. And then I like felt someone lean over me. But it was weird because it felt like what my mom would do when I was sick as a kid. Like, you know, when they come in and check on you. And I was like, what is going on? And so then it was just, I heard footsteps go away and that was it. And so I kind of like laid there for a few seconds. I was like, what just happened? So I ran upstairs and I asked my mom, I was like, were you just down in my room? And she was like, no. And I told her everything that happened. And like my grandma passed away when I was really young. And she was basically like a second mom to me. And we had just been talking about her a lot that night. And so to me, I'm always just like, oh,
it's grandma.
Yeah, like that's what it felt.
It's grandma.
It was. I'd never been someone who like really believed in ghosts that much. And then that happened to me and I was like, this is so, and I know I wasn't asleep. I know, and it was such a very specific feeling of like the same as if my mom had come down there and checked on me like when I was when I'm sick or something. So I'm always curious because a lot of people have the scary stories and I'm like, mine's kind of actually like a little wholesome. Scary if you weren't literally there, but yeah.
One of my favorite ghost stories I've heard in Kansas. I won't give away the name of the person, but there's a person we're well connected with in Salina, and when he was in high school, he was in the band, and he was late for some reason and had to run in to get his instrument out of the auditorium at Salina Central, and he came in the back door of the theater, and the theater was full of people and there was a band on stage playing. He's like, oh no, you know, he thought his instrument was on stage. And so he quickly backed out of the room, closed the door, and it was completely silent. And he opened the door and the theater was empty and there was no one on stage and the lights were out. And this is not the kind of person that normally, you know, talks about these things. And so that one always has stuck with me.
Whoa.
Isn't there a gun range in the basement of Central?
Yeah, now it's the drama storage area, but originally in a different era in our world, it was a gun range. Yeah.
Interesting. Huh. And aren't theaters kind of like notoriously haunted or said to be basically?
Yeah.
You know, during COVID, one of the things that, especially on Broadway, there's a rich tradition, you know, in theaters that you never let the lights go out completely on a stage. And so you'll see, if you're able to stick around long enough at a theater, you will see them often pull out a light bulb and put it in the middle of the stage just to light it up.
Oh, wow.
And that's just a tremendously scary setting for a ghost to come out. So, yeah. Well, this is really fun, Sky.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming up with such great questions and encouraging our conversation. I guess
thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
Thanks for letting me come over from the couch.
Yeah. Thanks for making the sojourn.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for tuning in to Ask a Kansan. Hope you got something out of this episode and learned something about Sydney and I.
Yeah.
And hope you'll tune in again next week. Thanks. Have you heard people in your organization say, we need video? At FILI Creative, we develop videos to drive your marketing strategy. We are problem solvers, crafting messaging and visuals to achieve business goals. Whether you need to share your organization's identity, convey company culture, attract the right people to your team, or put your products on display, FILI will help you communicate effectively and get back to what you do best. Let's get creative. FILI Creative.
Thanks for joining us on that episode of Us. I don't know how else to word that.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I like that Skylar picked things that made us think a little bit and then also had the fun part of it.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
It was great.
So I don't know if I have feedback like we normally do because it's weird because we're giving feedback about our own answers.
I felt like the guy really didn't know what he was talking about. Yeah, just performance needed to be up a level.
So we're going to go ahead and just jump in to some of the fun things. So I started searching just I wanted to know the most random events that happen in Kansas. And the reason why is because like a month or so ago, I got to participate in donkey basketball. No, I didn't participate. I got to watch it. Where it's this company out of Wisconsin and they tour around the U.S. and it's a fundraiser. So they bring in a bunch of donkeys. They have like rubber soles or special shoes on, and they go into these basketball courts in these tiny schools and tiny towns. And it's a fundraiser because you have to buy tickets to watch. And then you have different teams, and the teams are volunteers, and they have to play basketball while riding a donkey.
If that's not the most Midwestern thing.
That is not the most Midwestern thing. So it got me thinking. I'm like, okay, there's got to be other weird things that like we just don't know about. So the first one that I'm going to have Merlin bring up is the Cocker City Picnic and Twine-a-thon. So for those Kansans who know, and maybe for those who don't know, Cocker City is home to the biggest ball of twine. And it's not just the biggest ball of twine because it's the biggest ball of twine. No, they add on to it every year. Mm-hmm. So they have this giant Cocker City picnic every year. And here are some of the events. They've got livestock kissing. So you put $5 down. Let's see, $5 down, and you can vote for which Cocker City resident you would like to see kiss a livestock.
I think we all know where COVID really came from.
Yeah. There's wiffle ball, there's live music, there's local shoppings, there's a fun run. And then the golf cart poker run, which I thought was interesting. So it's not like motorcycles. Right. Like motorcycles have poker runs usually. No,
I'm so sorry. I don't know what this is. A poker? I don't know what that is.
So, well, let's just read the descriptions. So Friday night, you grab your golf cart and or any mode of transportation you desire and join us for a poker run around Cocker. So basically it's just a drive around, like,
okay,
it's like a parade almost.
So it has nothing to do with the game poker.
No.
Okay. And there's no poking of people or golf carts? Okay.
So, yeah. So, and it ends at the Twine-a-thon. So, and the other part about the Twine-a-thon is you can buy, I think I saw on here that you can buy like a twine pack. So there's little packs that you can buy, because it has to be a certain type of twine that you can wrap around. Mm-hmm. But every year you can wrap more twine around the biggest ball of twine.
Did you know that there's some controversy about the ball of twine?
Really?
There's a competitive ball of twine elsewhere. It's outside of state. And Merlin's telling us that you do play poker and you get a card at each stop.
Interesting. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yep. So this other ball of twine claims to be the largest ball of twine created by a single person. Whereas the Cocker City ball of twine has involved a whole bunch of different people. So
that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Interesting. Yeah, but there's other pictures. You might have to exit out of that one, Merlin. We'll put them up here. Oh, yeah. So they come up with...
I want this shirt. This is great.
This shirt is great. So they come up with a different theme shirt every year for this picnic, and this one says, "I came, I saw, I cockered."
If
I want this,
it's real good that they put Cocker City, Kansas beneath that, because otherwise it'd be like, what does that
in the
mean?
World? So
what in the Urban Dictionary does this mean?
I absolutely want that shirt. So if there's anyone from Cocker City that can get us the "I came, I saw, I cockered," we would be forever in your debt.
Well-designed shirt, to be sure.
Yeah. I want a large. Gus probably wants an XL. Tall. He likes the tall shirts. He's very tall. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so they had the 50th annual. So they like design these t-shirts that were like retro because it
They
started
have
in
a
74.
good
They have a
designer.
great graphic designer
Wow.
and that's doing these. But there's also, I think, photos from the original picnic of like the sack races and literally these kids with like a quarter of a watermelon. So it's pretty cool.
It's fun to see all of these events that are celebrating their 50th anniversary. If you don't know, 50 years ago, roughly, was 1976, the bicentennial of the United States.
Yep.
And so that's why a lot of these events got started. So it's neat to see them, surviving this long.
Yeah. So, so that's the Cawker City Twine-a-thon. The other one that I found is a little bit more odd in Liberal, Kansas. So this is on the Visit Liberal page. And it's International Pancake Day, but it's not just any International Pancake Day. So I'm going to read what they have on this website just because if I summarize it, it's not going to make any sense. So I have to read it to you.
Okay.
So Pancake Day is always on Shrove Tuesday, which is the beginning of Lent. Some people refer to it as Fat Tuesday. By ancient tradition, the use of cooking fats is forbidden until after Easter. In Old England, it was customary for the housewives to drop whatever they were doing and hurry to the church at the tolling of the bell to be shriven. Is that shriven? Is that the correct term? SHRIVEN. Of their sins. Yeah, we'll have to search that one. So with that, on one fateful morning in Olney, England, Olney, England, in 1445, the church bells announcing the Shrive service to start Lent rang 5 minutes too early. Caught off guard, one housewife was busy making pancakes. She immediately ran 415 yards to church with her skillet and pancakes still in hand. Legend and tradition were I think that's supposed to say born. Legend and tradition were born every year for the last 575 years. The event has been commemorated with a race of apron-clad women carrying skillets. During the Second World War, England pilots were trained in Liberal, Kansas.
Oh, wow.
They brought the pancake race custom with them. In Liberal, the event started in 1950 when R.J. Leete, Leete, of the Liberal, why do all these names? JC's issued a challenge to Reverend Ronald Collins, vicar of Olney, to make it an international event with the two towns having a friendly competition to see who could run the 415-yard course the fastest. For more than 7 decades, Liberal, Kansas, and Olney, England face off each Shrove Tuesday. The international race is run at 11:55 a.m. in both communities and is open only to adult women who perform, quote, housewifely, unquote, duties. Runners are still required to wear a skirt, headscarf, and apron and run while carrying a skillet and pancake. The pancake must be flipped at the start and the finish to show it is still there. Since they started comparing scores, Liberal leads Olney with 39-30 wins as of 2020.
I love this so much.
And like there's pictures on this website, we'll post it, but it's literally women, skirts, headscarves, aprons with frying pans, with skillets. But it's not just the race too. They do a big pancake feed. They do all the community things, but talk about the most niche event.
Yeah. But with, I love all of the silly events.
Yeah.
But I love that this is founded kind of, by these two communities brought together in the war. Really incredible story.
Yeah.
Wow.
So there you go. That is your International Pancake Day in Liberal, Kansas.
Yeah, good one. Oh, sorry. That was awesome.
Yeah. So that's what I got for you today.
Well, thank you. That
Yeah,
was
you're
great.
welcome.
Yeah, pancakes and oh no, I've already forgot the first thing you talked about.
So did I. Because the pancake thing just throws you.
So sorry. This should be cut.
No, it shouldn't.
Poker. Oh yeah.
Play
The Cocker City.
poker.
The Cocker.
Oh, Cocker City.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks.
Can you tell where our mental
Thanks,
energy is?
Merlin.
Well, thanks for tuning in to Ask a Kansan. We have enjoyed having you here with us today. And hope you tune in again next week for another episode.
And make sure to follow us on all the socials, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. We're starting to get stuff posted weekly, so make sure you like and subscribe.
And if you know any Kansans that you think would be a good fit for our podcast, please have them reach out to us or just give us their name, and we'd be happy to reach out and have them on.
Or if you have anything interesting in your community that you want us to chat about or tell us about, please let us know. Google can only get us so far. It takes everyone to kind of tell the story of Kansas. So,
Agreed.
yeah.
Thanks.
See you next time.